Welcome back to Jasiri. Now, if you're just joining us, you're watching the new, relaunched and revamped Jasiri right here on News Central. Now, how would you feel if you received salary, back pay, after 12 months? I'm very sure you'd be quite ecstatic. And the news that we're about to discuss next is leaving a lot of people representing Nigeria feeling just that, a level of ecstasy. And that's because President Tinubu has cleared a whopping 12 billion naira in outstanding allowances and promises. And joining us to get into this is the sports editor for News Central, Babatunde Koiki. He joins the ladies of Jasiri. Babatunde, welcome to Jasiri. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much. I'm slightly overwhelmed, but I'm happy to be here.
Why? Please relax.
Beautiful, very intelligent women. It's not easy.
She's peaceful. I will keep her violent lady.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
She's the one who chooses violence. So what we know is that we're hearing 12 billion naira.
That's all we hear.
That's all we're hearing. And I can't think of anything else. This is salaries, entitlements. Unfortunately, this is not a new phenomenon. Owing, whether it's civil servants at the local government, states, at federal levels, or owing our national representatives. Yeah. We need a backstory. How did we get to the point of owing our national teams 12 billion naira?
Well, the honest truth is that the Nigerian Football Federation has been cash-strapped for quite a while. They've been having issues with getting money from the government, also issues with some of their sponsors pulling out. So the pool of money with which you used to execute a lot of their programs for the different national teams was reducing by the day. So that's now had to move resources from different places, try and allocate them as best as they can, which meant that a lot of things went unpaid, especially salaries, I beg your pardon, bonus, salaries inclusive of the national team coaches, bonuses and allowances. So what this meant was that a lot of the national team players felt slightly aggrieved about the fact that, you know, they were representing their fatherland, they didn't get as much as they expected. And it was an issue because it meant that they didn't play with that much intensity as they would rather would. Now, a lot of people are also asking why just 4 national teams, because this includes just the senior national teams, the Super Falcons and the Super Eagles, and the under 20 national teams as well, for both for the men's and women's. There's also an under 17 national team, both for the men, well, do I say girls and boys? But the Nigerian Football Federation wisely made a decision many years ago that the under 17 national teams were a developmental team. So which meant that they would only be paid camp allowances, daily allowances, and not match bonuses because they didn't want to incentivize them to make money the incentive for participation for the national team, which a lot of national teams around the world do. Youth teams are developmental. They don't pay them bonuses. The history of this started when military governments and politicians started throwing money at the players. If you win, we'll give you this, we'll give you that.
Cars,
exactly. So a lot of them became very entitled to it. But thankfully, the Nigerian Football Federation saw wisdom regarding this issue a few years ago and capped that at only under 20 and senior national team level. So some of these monies have been owed us way back as 2019.
Wow.
So, and they've been having a series of meetings, both for the women and the men. When will you get paid? But finally, the president has provided a January windfall for them. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we're seeing that it's not just smiles on the faces of the national team because even Nigerians are quite excited for them. And from what you have said, there seemed to be a level of apathy. You know, they were no longer interested in doing the work as much. So would we say that this is enough motivation, looking at how they're preparing for the African Cup of Nations? Do you think this kind of gets them that boost?
Yeah, it can. I'm yet to meet someone who money doesn't boost. And I'm yet to meet someone who a windfall doesn't even boost even further. The honest truth is that they've called these players up to the national teams many times. They did show up. But it's just that you get the impression they didn't play with as much intensity as they normally would, knowing that, look, my money is sorted, I'm good, I can go and break a limb for my country. You get the impression that 50-50 tackles was kind of like 60-40 that, hey, if I break my leg, these people, they don't give a damn
They
about
haven't even paid me salary.
Exactly.
How will I get to the hospital?
And I believe that those promises that came initially was also like a ginger for them.
Absolutely.
Even without seeing the money, like, they're promises,
there's
don't worry,
hope.
just play, just
Absolutely. And the sad thing is that even the women national team is affected, but to a lesser extent. We do know that some of the backroom staff have not been paid. I think there are allowances for the FIFA Women's World Cup. So there's been a lot of issues. And I know everybody wants to pillory the NFF. I know everybody wants to flay them. But the honest truth is that we can only work with what you have. If the money is available, you will pay. And you can only allocate scarce resources as they come in. So it's been a bit of financial juggling here and there.
But this is the year of the Olympics. And it's very important.
Yeah.
But we have seen that it has happened to us in Nigeria a lot.
Yeah.
It's either our teams are not prepared, underprepared,
Late.
or late,
Kids
or
don't show
unable
up.
to
Remember that?
No.
compete.
True.
Maybe to things as little as they don't have jerseys and kits and shoes and everything. But now, we cannot just wait for windfalls. What is the way forward about getting sustainable funding? Yeah. Because sports is something you need to do a preparation for. Yeah. It's not like we just need to pay them to be on the flight to go. Yeah. They need to prepare. Yeah. We cannot keep hoping that a President Tinubu will just do the right thing every time after they have done so much. If we don't pay for preparation, how do we get them to win? And Nigerians are all about winning. Yeah. I know how excited we all get when we win. The whole nation lights up. It's like Christmas tree. So how do we make this sustainable? Because another thing I'm seeing is that these teams are not, they have this lackluster that brands are not touching them. They look attractive for them to put money on.
Do we have enough time on Jasiri?
This is what you can do.
There's a lot to unpack.
Wait.
Because
what Lolo says is lending to what I have in mind to ask, so that because she spoke about windfall. Do we expect the government all the time to do these things? And then how about private sector participation? How about getting sponsorship? How about private sponsors, untapped revenue? Is it already something in progress? Has it started? Is it not starting? Are we are we sleeping on a bicycle as this?
Tunde said that we need to give him an hour.
Even an hour can't.
It's Lolo that triggered that. Because I was thinking,
believe it or not, the Nigeria Football Federation is the only sports association in Nigeria that is actually mentioned in the Nigeria Constitution, which means that they receive a direct line charge from the federal coffers. But believe it or not, it's one thing for the government to allocate money to you. It's another thing for you to get it on time.
For it to get to you, not even just on time.
For it to get to you, it has to go through approvals.
So you're saying that this approval now can take like 6 more months?
You better believe it.
So wait, so the president signing off on this money coming out does not mean the money is
coming out
today.
That's why I said I wasn't excited.
That's another thing.
Hearing the news is different from hearing that they got the money.
Exactly.
But we have to wait. Tolu, everybody calm down. We have to borrow money to be able to meet some of our needs.
All of our needs.
It's really, really tough. You've mentioned private sector participation. That's another very key.
In other countries, this is the norm.
But the honest truth is, the private sector, I've worked closely with them a lot of times, and they'll tell you that, look, we look at the Nigerian system, you hear things like better edu, you hear things like ministers misappropriating money, you hear civil servants say,
why should we put our money
snake
in?
swallowed money.
They put their money everywhere else with ease in shows. I just don't want to get into it, in things that,
But those money, if you look very closely, the people they put their money into or the institutions or organizations that put their money into are private organizations. Government at any level is not benchmarked to,
best performance?
Best performance, exactly. There are no KPIs, there's no structure, there's nothing. It's pretty much, on a whim and on basically how it comes. But if you work with corporate organizations, they want to see structure, they want to see accounts, they want to see KPIs, they want to see deliverables. These are people who can measure performance.
So these things are already working against.
Exactly, and that's really the problem why the private sector really has this, standoffish, attitude towards Nigerian sports.
It's
because
not like they don't want to.
It's not like they don't want to.
There's no structure in place to be able to.
It's like putting your money in a bottomless pit. There is absolutely no guarantee that you get a return on your investment. And thankfully, the Super Eagles on Nigerian football national team is absolutely the biggest sporting property in this country. It can generate by itself I know people are working to just merchandising alone for this AFCON can be as much as the 12 billion that you're talking about.
Wow. It's not so easy.
But
I mean, imagine a private sector wants to invest now and then you hear the better I do story. Just hold on.
You see, she still wants to say that joke again.
One of the things that
She still wants to say it
things
again.
that we have been talking about are not things that are new to us.
But they're also not
There is no
rocket
structure.
science. No,
See,
they're not
if we do
rocket
not have
science.
structure, we cannot attract funding.
So Tunde, how old is the NFF?
Was founded in, I believe, 1959, 1963, I believe.
So if the NFF is a grown man, and this grown man has been repeating the same thing and is waiting for handouts from, his grandfather, let the federal government be the grandfather.
Yeah.
Would we not call the grown man insane? Would we not call him lazy?
Exactly.
In fact, we'll say he's going to hellfire.
It's way over,
But you know
over
that in
50 years
Nigeria,
old.
when a windfall comes, honestly, let's just imagine hypothetically, this money drops. Trust me, the next week we're going to have internal rancor within the association that is supposed to disburse this money. Trust me. So we'll grapple with that again, and the time for preparation for all these competitions are going away. All our parastatals, all the stadiums, they're not being maintained.
They're not
Is
even
it
being
every
used.
time that we have a tournament, that's
I
when
want
we
to
go
build
and
a new one.
plant grass?
Yeah.
Or are we going to go and put rubber grass that will hurt the athletes?
Tunde, apparently you did not know that there were sports analysts on Jasiri with you.
now I do. Now I do.
But so what do we do about the
Last
internal leadership of
Yeah.
the NFF? Do you think they're capable of disbursing this money as it should be disbursed when the windfall falls eventually?
Let's give them the benefit of doubt. Let me just put it that way.
Since how many
Let's that's what we can do.
We have been doing that.
We have a fairly new NFF leadership that has been there for just a year now. So far, so good. They are doing the best they can under limited circumstances. And so far, so good. They have not been found wanting yet.
Yeah.
This might be the situation.
So this will be the real litmus test.
test for them.
When the money comes, do the players get their money as at when due? Because even at the last Africa Cup of Nations, all the foreign-based players were paid as at when due. The only player who was based in Nigeria, he had to fight tooth, nail, toenail.
That's even selective.
Just to get, you
Why are
understand?
you prioritized? Everybody has come for national service. Why only
So these
him?
are the things.
Probably because they
Okay.
know that that's the only one they can easily get away with.
Of course.
Okay, so Babatunde has told us we need to wait because while the president has said, yes, give the money, we don't know what pipelines or channels or the time it's going to take for that
Or
money
if
to reach
it's
the
ever
national
going to
teams
reach.
and those involved. And especially with AFCON starting this weekend. So quickly, what can we look forward to? AFCON is happening. I know you guys are covering everything. Just give us a little taste.
So big news coming out of the Nigerian national team today. One of the key players, Victor Boniface, has a muscle injury.
I
He
saw
will
that
be
this
missing from the tournament, and he was started one of the stars of the tournament, so a replacement has been called up pretty quickly. But News Central will be giving you live reports from Abidjan, from Vox Pop, sights and sounds of from the country itself, meeting with fans, other players, and from other countries. It's going to be a really interesting
Do you
package.
think we'll do well, though? I mean, do you have confidence?
I said last
I'm not
question,
saying. Sorry.
I said last question.
It's interesting. It just keeps bringing up good stuff.
One sentence.
One sentence.
Don't say no.
Not diplomatic, eh?
Until-
It's on the bottom of your heart.
threatening him?
Until thy hands, dear Lord, you commit our players. That's all.
You're watching Jasiri. We'll be right back after this. Stay with us.
Oh my God.